Hello, College Algebra, and welcome to 7.2, which is hyperbolas. So hyperbolas are fun to draw. So instead of an ellipse going in on itself, it's going to go out, which is quite fun. And you're going to have asymptotes that you have to draw in and write the equation of, which will be very different from the ellipse. So make sure you've got your paper open, you're ready to go, and let's see if we can have some fun with this. Okay, so first we're going to locate the vertices and the foci, just like before. We're going to create the equation. We're going to graph them at the center, and then we'll graph them when they're not at the center. And then we'll do a little bit of applied math with them. So a hyperbola, just like an ellipse, is a set of points in a plane whose distance from the two fixed points called the foci is constant. Nothing different, except now it's going out. You have the transverse axis. It's a line connecting the vertices. So like here, this is the two vertices. The transverse axis goes from here. All right, so instead of a major minor, it's called transverse. Now, to find this, it's whichever one is positive. So the positive value is the direction the hyperbola opens. So if x is positive, it opens left to right. If y is positive, it opens up and down. Now, to find our foci this time, it's a little bit different since it's outside of the vertices. It's larger. So instead of subtracting the two like we did on the ellipse, we are going to add. And then we add and take the square root, and that will give us our c, which will give us our foci, which are out here or out here. The asymptotes are also very fun. So now the A is how far we go on the x-axis, since this is positive, and the B is how far we move on the y, even though we don't use those a ton to graph. When we do this, creates a slope. It's how far up on the y, how far over on the x. And that is the slope of this asymptote. That's the positive one, and we do the exact same thing, but now we go down in this way, and we get the negative asymptote. The easiest way to do that is to create this box and connect the corners and realize it's rise over run for our slope of our asymptotes. So let's do a couple of problems here with numbers. So the first thing we look at here is it's an x squared is positive, so we know it's going to open left to right. Now we go 25 on the x, so the square root of 25 is 5, which is a. So that means my vertices are going to be 5, 0 and negative 5, 0. So we go to 5, 0, we put our dot, and negative 5, 0. Okay, we need the y in order to figure out our asymptotes. So the square root of the 16 is 4. Well, that is how far up on the y we're going, and we need those to create our asymptote. So we go up 4 over 5, right? Well, if I go up 4, right 5, and up 4, left 5, and we can create my box here. So I put in my corners, is what we've done. Now let's draw in our asymptotes, because this is what our hyperbola approaches. Okay, we've got those drawn in. We also have to write those equations. When they're at the center is very simple. So y equals, what was my slope? It was 4 over 5. So 4 over 5x is the equation of that line. This one is the same thing, except we went down 4. So he's negative 4 over 5x, which is the equation of my asymptotes. I know this guy is opening on the x, so he is going to approach that asymptote from the left and the right, and the same on this side. Okay, I've got the general form, but it is not complete without my foci. And my foci this time, I take the 25 plus the 16 to get 41, and then the square root of 41 is, let's get this up roughly, let's see, 6, 7, so it's got to be 6 point something, right? Hang on, let me grab my calculator. 6.4. I should have guessed that. All right, so we're going to go 6.4 on the x-axis, left and right. So my foci are right here, 6.40 and negative 6.40, centered at the origin. Not too bad, right? Okay, I want you to pause and try yours. Okay, first thing you should have done is said, hey, this is y squared, so this guy opens up and down. All right, on the y, so now you're looking for your vertices. I've got 36, so the square root of 36 is 6, so I'm going to go up and down 6 on the y. So I'm going to go up 6 and down 6. So my vertices are 0, 6, and 0, negative 6. But now I also have to have the x, so I know how to draw my asymptotes in, right? So now we're looking at the x values. The square root of 4 equals 2. So those points are going to be at 2, 0, and negative 2, 0. So we're going to draw those in. They're not actually vertices this time though, because we're not going to connect them with our graph. So now if we draw in our box, we can draw in our asymptotes. Okay, so we've got this asymptote and this asymptote. Now we know the equation of this asymptote is y equals, we went up 6 over 2. But we know we can reduce 6 over 2, so we have to reduce that to 3x. And then the same is true here. It's y. This time we went down 6 over 2, which translates into y equals negative 3x. So we have the equations of our asymptotes. We could technically draw in this here because we know he's on the y. And we're getting pretty close, but I still need my foci to have him complete. So in order to find my foci, I have to take the 36 plus the 4. So right now we're looking for the foci, which equals 40. And the square root of 40 is 6.3. So we're going to go 6.3 on the y. So I know this is 0, 6.3, and 0, negative 6.3. And drawing in our foci, just barely above those vertices. And now our hyperbola is complete. I hope you did a good job. They're actually quite a lot of fun. All right, next we have to find the hyperbola from the given equation, or the vertices that are given. So my vertice is given as 0, 3, and 0, negative 3. So I know its length is 3, and it's on the y. Okay, the foci is 5 and negative 5. So its length is 5, and this is my c. All right, so now in order to find this, I know c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So 25 equals 9 plus b. Subtract the 9, so we're here. Take the square root, and I get 4. So the equation of my hyperbola is y squared, because that was my my vertices, has to be the positive minus the x squared. The y is 3 long, so he's 9. The x is 4 long, so he's 16 equals 1. All right, pause and try yours. This time they gave you x as your major, so this is x, and he is 4 long. My c is 6 long. So now we know the x squared. We could do this over 16 because I got to square 4 minus the y squared, which we have to find yet, equals 1. So to find the y squared, we know that is 36 because you square the 6, square the 4, plus the b squared, subtract that, so we get 20 equals a b squared, and that is actually what goes under here because b equals the square root of 20. Okay, I hope you did a great job. These aren't too bad. Now we're going to move these and do a translation. So it's the same thing as the ellipse. We'll have the positive just like before, and now it's going to be the opposite of whatever's inside, and that's how this is going to move, just like every other graph we have done. So let's give a shot. First thing we have to do is complete those squares. So now we go 4x squared minus 24x, first one, 9 squared minus 90y, add the 53 over, add in our 2 blanks. Again, factor out what they have in common. So this is 4, so you get 4, and we got x squared minus 6x. So now we've got, I should have done this in 2 steps. We have 6 here, divided by 2 equals 3. 3 squared is 9. We're going to factor out a negative 9, so the negative goes out front here. We have the 10, so 10 divided by 2 equals 5. 5 squared is 25. So now we have the 4 in front of this blank, the negative 9 in front of this blank. We filled in a 9 here, a 25 here. So we've done our work correctly. So now this here, x minus 3, x plus 5, add all that up, you get negative 36. Now you got to be really careful. So we get to divide by negative 36, right? To get my 1. Well, 4 divided by negative 36 is negative over 9. A negative divided by a negative is a positive over 4. That means that the x squared is the negative value. So we're going to rewrite him and put him second. So this guy actually opens on the y, because the y is the positive when we're finished. Okay, his center is 3, 5. A is now 2, because he's the the positive. Your b is 3, square root of 9. So c squared is a plus b squared, 13, or the square root of 13. So let's graph this thing now. So we have to go to, let's see if I can get this all on the screen. 3, 5 for my center, which is right here. And then I have to go and graph. Now remember, the y is the way this thing opens. Hang on, did I do my center wrong? We did. This is 3, negative 5. So make sure you fix that on your thing. So let's graph this correctly now. Here we go. It's hard to get on here. So 3, negative 5 is the center of my graph. Okay, we know that the y is the positive, so we're going to open on the y. So I'm going to go up 2 for my vertice from that center, down 2 for my other vertice. Okay, on the x we're going to move 3. So from here we're going to go 3 over and 1, 2, 3 over. Okay, we're going to draw in our box. And we're going to sketch in our asymptotes. Okay, now to write the equation of these asymptotes, we've got a little bit of work to do. So I know we went up 2 over 3. So to start with, this is y equals up 2 over 3x, correct? But that would be if he was at the origin. So now I've got to put in my point with this. So all we do is we take y, and I moved 5 down. So that's a plus 5, remember opposite sign, equals 2/3 times x, and we moved 3 over. Oh, I'm out of room. Here. Let me try writing it over here a little bit more. We'll go over here. So y plus 5, okay, equals 2/3. Now x minus 3. The opposite of your point. Okay, I hope you did well with that. So now we got the equation of this guy. That's the positive one. It's going to be the exact same thing on the bottom, so we can put a plus or minus. So this here equation here is just y plus 5 equals negative 2/3 times x minus 3. So we got the equation of the two asymptotes. We know this guy's opening on the y, so we can start to sketch him in. And now we have to find those foci. Now remember, the foci, we have to add them together. So we have to take the 9 plus the 4. There we go. So we have to take the 9 plus the 4, which equals 13. So we have to move the square root of 13 from here. And the square root of 13 is 3.6. So we're going to go from here up 3.6, 1, 2, 3.6, and down 3.6. And now you've sketched in your hyperbola. I hope you did a good job. Okay, pause and try yours. Step 1 should have been to get the x's together, and then the y's. Don't forget your blanks. Equals your 39, and then you have your blank for your x and your blank for your y. Now you had to take this guy and factor out the 4. So when you take out the 4, you've got x squared plus 8x, plus we got to fill in that blank. Now this guy, we're going to factor out a negative 1. That gives me y squared minus 6y plus blank. Now that's going to give me a 39, plus I have to put the 4 in front of the x, and then I have to put the minus 1 in front of the y. So now we got to fill in these blanks. So it's 8 divided by 2 and square it, 16. Fill in my other blank. So it's negative 6 divided by 2 and square it. All right, I hope you've done well so far. So now we got to get our perfect square. So this is 4 times x plus 4, quantity squared, minus 1 times y minus 3, quantity squared. Add all that up, and I'm pretty sure we get 16. So now we've got to divide. So we get a 1 over here. So everybody by 16. So when we do this, we have x plus 4 squared over 4 minus y minus 3 squared over 16 equals 1. Okay, so now when you look at this here, the center is negative 4, positive 3 because it's opposite sides. So go negative 4, 3. We know our major is the x. So we're, well, not major, but the vertices is the x. So we go 2 on the x, left and right. So that's one it's going to open on. But we still need the 16. So we can figure out, so this is 4. Okay, so the square root of 4 equals 2 on the x. And then we got to do the square root of 16, which is 4 on the y, so we can get in our asymptotes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And draw in your box. Okay, now we're going to draw in our asymptotes. Now remember, we have to do the equation of that line. Well, when we look at this, we went up 4 over 2. So our slope is 4 over 2, which equals 2. Our point is negative 4, 3. So we just write that out. So we go y minus 3, point slope form, equals, I'm going to put a plus or a minus, so I only have to write this once, 2 times x plus 4. Equation of your asymptotes. Okay, we know it's x, so it's opening on the x direction. And we can sketch him in, which you're doing pretty well on. Now we got to do our foci so we can finish him up. So 4 plus 16 equals 20. So we have to take the square root of 20, which is going to be 4.5. So now we go 4.5 out. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And 4.5. And there is your hyperbola. Okay, I hope you did a great job. Okay, last but not least is solving an equation. Now this guy is quite interesting. He has caused issues more than ever. All right, so we're going to read this. We got 2 microphones. They're here and here. Okay, they're 2 miles apart, and you got to remember that a mile is 5,280 feet. So we got 2 miles apart, 5,280 feet, and one microphone hears the sound of an explosion 3 seconds before the other microphone does. So when we look at this, this is A, and there's also an A over here, because there's actually the other half of the hyperbola over here. And then this distance here is also the same. So x and x. Now, if we look at this, this side, so I got x plus 2a minus this side, the x, has to be equal to the 3 seconds, which is 1100, so 3,300 feet. Well, when that cancels out, that means 2a has to equal 3,300, so that's where that came from. Divide that out, and a is 1650. So the distance from here to here is 1650. So we've got our a value. C we have given to us also, because C is the distance to the foci. Well, I know the foci is 5,280. So we've got our C value. So now that means I've got to find B. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. I definitely highly suggest using your calculator. I subtracted it and squared them, and that's B squared. So it's X squared over your 1650 squared minus Y squared over this. And that's the equation of that hyperbola. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, yours is the same thing, except now it's 4 seconds apart. So what changes? You're right. It's 2a equals to 4,400. So now a is going to be equal to 2,200. Okay, C is still 5,280. So you still have to do 5,280 squared equals the 2,200 squared plus the b squared. So if you take 5,280 squared minus the 2,200 squared, you're going to get this great big long number, 230,38400 equals b squared. And we've already got c squared, or a squared. So it's x squared, because it's opening side to side, minus the y squared equals the 1. This number is your y squared, so that 230,38400, and the x squared is your 1650 squared, which is 2722500. Okay, good luck. I hope you do well on your homework. Post questions if you have any.